Let's go. Twins have finally won a playoff series. First time in 20 years. It deserves a shot of Fireball. Oh,
why not?
That goes down good. Just like beating the Toronto Bluejays does. 2-0. We are set up for success in Houston. We got it coming. We're going to get into everything. Let's go. We have won an American League series for the Minnesota Twins. Oh my goodness. And we swept the Blue Jays. I mean, they said, oh, the Blue Jays pitching is better than Twins. They said the Blue Jays bullpen is better than Twins. They said this offense, they got Vladdy, they got Springer, they got Bo Bichette. But you know what? We got Michael A. Taylor. We got Pablo Lopez. We got Sonny Gray. We got Carlos Correa. Oh yeah, did I forget a guy? Who did I forget?
I think you did.
I don't know, Mr. Royce Lewis.
Mr. Royce.
Mr. Rookie Royce. Oh my goodness, making a name for himself in this series. Give me your thoughts. You know, we went through game one. How you feeling right now, Alex? We're going to look through the highlights, but I got to know.
How can you not be thrilled about a win like this? 2 wins like this, to be more specific. I mean, coming out, this is a young team we talked about in the last podcast. They need to come out and make a name for themselves, get some playoff experience under the belt. And what better way to do it than getting two sweeps, or getting a sweep and getting 2 wins out of it? I mean, you can't ask for much more. And now we get to go face the villains of the MLB playoffs in the Astros. And I mean, it kind of feels like we're going to have the rest of America kind of rooting behind us. We're that underdog story in the playoffs now. And I think it's going to be super fun to watch going forward.
I agree. You know what? I think that's what this Twins ownership and the GMs we've gone through, the managers we've gone through, the players we've gone through, they were just setting it up for like, hey, let's like lose for 21 years. That way America's got our back, right? They got our back now. How could they not? You know?
I sure hope not.
No, I don't think so. But man, I was at the games. The energy in the stadium was absolutely electric. I've been at Twins playoff games before. I remember the most recent one, you know, when we came back and played the Yankees at home. We were already down 0-2 at that point. So the fans were like into it, but not into it. And they came out strong and the Yankees beat us. It wasn't as fun. You know, you do the 7th inning, like, hey, like stand up and shout. And everyone's like, we're losing. We had a lead at every point of these 2 games. And the fans knew it. They loved it. They cheered. I mean, if you're there first inning or the 7th inning, it didn't matter. When a strike happened, everyone stood up and waved those homer hankies up there. I mean, everybody was cheering. If there was a ball, we were booing the umpire. George Springer walks up to bat. I've never heard boos louder just because he was on the Astros, you know, and they're sick and all the Twins fans are sick and tired of hearing them get Correa getting booed. We're going to boo him back. But I'm just glad that we got to play at home. I got to be there. We got to feel it, see it. The fans at the game loved it. I mean, it was electric. And I'm sure, you know, I know people watching on TV, I mean, it must have been, could you hear all the sound? I know you weren't at the game tonight, but.
Oh, 100%. Like from the first pitch in game 1 of this series, you could just tell something was different. It sounded way louder than any other regular season game. And it showed on TV, even without being there, that there was a special energy in that stadium. And I think it gave those Twins huge boost.
Big time. I mean, I've only been to one other game that I can think of in my life that was as loud as the stadium that I was in, other than like in baseball, that is. And that was when I went to a Friday night game between the Yankees and the Red Sox, who were very close, tied in the division. That was a loud game, but this was on another level. Honestly, this was more rowdy, more crazy. A fan ran on the field at one point in the first game. Nobody saw it on TV because it happened between the innings. It actually happened again at the end of the game too. And after we clinched the division, or we clinched the series against Toronto, Louis Varland picked up an entire Gatorade water and threw it on his best friends in the stands. Like, how cool is that? You know, to have some Minnesota boys. We had at least 3 of them that I can think of. Caleb Theobar had a huge series, born in Northfield, Minnesota. You got Louis Varland, you know, Mr. Minnesota as well. And you got Matt Wallner from Forest Lake. Pretty awesome to see that not only is this team, you know, loaded, we didn't go out and buy this team. We built this team. They created this team. Like this team is built for playoffs. Look at the bullpen. Look at the starting pitching. This is everything you got to see. But let's get into it. We're going to go through some of the highlights quick. We're going to just talk about this game, and we're going to do a whole breakdown on Houston in our next podcast. So please like, subscribe. We appreciate it. We're going to have so much more coming throughout the playoffs, and I cannot wait. But we're going to dive into this because this was a heck of a game. I mean, you don't get much better than, look at that. You got pretty much a sellout crowd. I wouldn't say every seat was filled at the stadium when I was there, but it sure sounded like every seat was filled. It was pretty close, especially for a game that's cold and a little rainy each night. Not bad. In a 3:30 game when it's pretty tough for people to get there. But all right, first inning, right? Started out with a bang, just like last time. It started out with an error last time. This time a George Springer double, and I could just feel, you've been at games, Twins games, Vikings games. You feel the energy just get really deflated when you got a couple hits to start the game. This wasn't that. I mean, even though George Springer doubled, that strikeout right after of Brandon Belt lifted everyone's spirits back up, not only on the Twins, I'm assuming, but the whole stadium was just feeling themselves. And Vladdy Guerrero got a lot of boos, by the way, too. He did not have a good series. Is there anybody on the Blue Jays that stood out to you? It had to have been Bo Bichette. That guy was on fire.
Absolutely. He hit over 500 in the series, and he came into the series being one of the hottest hitters on the Blue Jays. And you kind of tense up when he came to the plate. Like, he's one of those guys you kind of worry about busting a game open. And luckily it never came to anything too serious, but he definitely had himself a nice series. Big time.
And you know who else had themselves a nice series for the Blue Jays? I would say the home plate umpires. They had some poor calls against the Twins. This was not one of them. And I think part of it is the Blue Jays were trying to sell on the calls so hard. They were trying to move out of the way, even though it was a strike. If you look here at this point, you got Biggio at the plate, I believe it is, and you got a strike. Clearly, 85 mile an hour, pretty much down the middle. And look at what he's doing. Throwing the bat, saying, oh, yeah, that's outside after he's got this long at bat, 2 outs, 2 runners on, trying to do everything he can to get away with it. And they were getting away with it, but not here. Not in the first inning. He strikes him out, gets out of the inning. Absolute electricity in the stadium again. What do you think of Barrios? Huh?
I mean, he was pitching a good game. Started that 3rd inning with a walk, and they pulled him. I think you got to let him go. His numbers against the Twins in the past have looked really good. And I don't think he was pitching bad per se. I think you got to let it ride. I don't like the move to Kikuchi, and obviously the Twins ended up scoring 2 runs that inning. So was it the right move? I feel like it's going to get compared to the Blake Snell move. Maybe not as dire, but I think you just got to ride out Barrios a little longer than that. But what did you think?
I mean, I talked about it in the last podcast, and Barrios, he's an emotional pitcher, right? He's a guy that if he's into it and he's doing good, he's going to continue to do good. And if he's not into it and he's not doing good and the fans are getting on him or whatever it is, he's going to fall apart. But I can tell you again, from being there, the fans were cheering for him when they announced his name, which I was curious to what was going to happen. Like, I'm happy for the guy. It's great. He's getting a chance. We drafted him. We had him for many years. We loved him here. But it's playoffs. I was kind of surprised. We also drafted George Springer, if you didn't know that, and nobody was cheering for him. So we drafted him at one point. But anyway, Barrios, first inning, he got a strikeout. I think we just saw it. And if you watch this, they actually cut this. It was Polanco and must have been Julian right before him because Julian let off. So Julian struck out, right? And when he struck out Julian, he gave the get out of here wave. And I don't think they showed it on, I don't know if they showed it on TV or not. They didn't show it in this highlight reel, so I'm guessing that they cut it. But when you're at the stadium, he did it to the first 3 strikeouts he probably had. He was like, get out of here to the player. And you're like, dude, come on now. I know this is playoffs, but, and I do like players celebrating. Like, I'm not against like Barrios giving a fist pump, do a Tiger Woods type thing for all I care, but don't point at the player and say, get out of here. Like, that's not all right. But I was kind of surprised that they brought Barrios out, to be honest, because when you're down 1-0, I know they announced Barrios earlier. I think I would have still gone with my second best pitcher, who clearly, if you ask any Toronto fan, it's Chris Bassett. I'm kind of surprised too that they went to Kikuchi and not Bassett after that, because you were hoping for a game 3, which is why you're saving Bassett, but you have to win this game. You have to bring out your best stuff. And to me, that's him. We got to talk about the outfield a little bit. I know I played outfield, in high school and everything. And I know when the guys are making it look easy or making it look hard. And the Twins, Michael A. Taylor, especially, and Max Kepler, were making it look so easy. It was ridiculous, right? I mean, Michael A. Taylor, I can't even say enough of how much of a potential MVP of this series he was to me. He made some plays like, look at this. He made that look so easy. If you look at this play, I know that, he's just running, it looks nonchalant. He's tracking that ball, but look at how close he is in the warning track and going back to the wall. He is not playing that deep when he made this catch. He had to travel a long ways, and he knows how far he can travel. He knows where that wall is. His awareness is next level. And there were a lot of people in the stands saying, Byron who? Yeah. How'd you feel about that? Byron not being in the lineup, and now obviously we've got Michael A. Taylor. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Taylor played exceptionally well throughout this series defensively. I mean, you can't ask for much more from a guy. He just kind of did everything he was asked to do. And I think offense is talked about so much during these playoff series. When it comes down to little plays like this, you don't notice as much of guys just going out there and stealing outs. And that's what a guy like Michael Taylor can do. And it's a great replacement for Byron Buxton.
Yep. Big time. I mean, do you think he's going to be on the roster the next series? Would you put him on the roster?
I think it all comes down to health. A guy that's not at least 70, 80%. I mean, is that really worth putting out there? A, risking re-injury, and B, risking, not as strong performance. So I think that's an internal decision you can't really say too much on.
Right. Yeah, that's just let's just say his knee is healthy. I don't think we still see him in center field. I mean, we can tell from Jorge Polanco at third base, putting a guy out there who doesn't play that position as often this year, that's tough. You can't just move guys around. And Buxton has not played center field all year. I don't think that we're going to see him out there in the playoffs at all. The way Michael A. Taylor is playing, there's zero chance that I would put him out there if I was managing this team, even though you're paying him to be a center fielder.
But it's the playoffs. Every win is so important. I feel like you just got to ride with guys who are playing well and giving your team a good chance to win day in and day out.
For sure. And right now, that's Taylor. He's high up there on my list right now. I can't say enough good things about him. Also, here's Royce Lewis taking a walk from Barrios. This was a hell of an at-bat. If you look at the left, the sequence, I don't know if you can see that or not, if it's cut off, but it's cut off a little bit in our thing. But he goes slurve, changeup, slurve, sinker, changeup, slurve, sinker. No fastballs. He is not throwing Royce Lewis anything that he wants him to hit. He's throwing him everything nasty that he's got. He even threw a sinker at 97 miles an hour, 96 miles an hour. I mean, he is very afraid of Royce Lewis, as he should be. And the whole Toronto team was. When he came up after this at-bat, his next two at-bats, they switched pitchers when he came to the plate. I mean, that's clearly they're bringing in a pitcher because of Royce Lewis, and that is awesome. And Kepler beating out this ball that Biggio tried to get was huge. Get some runners on, got things started a little bit. No outs, a couple guys on there. Bases loaded. I wish Royce Lewis was up with the bases loaded. That would have been nice. But we got Scott Boris's other client, Carlos Correa. Not too bad. Is he worth $40 million to you after watching this series?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to want to pay this guy $40 million a year when he comes out and produces like that in our first playoff series. I mean, today has a clutch RBI to get the first run of the game on the board, and yesterday with that amazing defensive play to save a run. He also made a lot of good plays defensively in today's game. So, I mean, you just love to see your top guy performing like that. And like we talked about in the last podcast, he's got that playoff experience. He's one of the greatest playoff hitters of the decade. So, yeah, I want this guy on my playoff team for sure.
Right. And he hasn't hit a home run yet. But for anybody who doesn't know, he is currently ranked 8th in home runs in the postseason. Oh, no, not for the Twins, not for the Astros, in the MLB. 8th ever all time. There's only 7 guys who have more home runs than Carlos Correa. And he's what? I don't even know if he's 30 yet. He might be 29, turning
Still
30.
got a lot of good baseball left.
Gosh. And we got Matt Wallner, Royce Lewis, Alex Killeroff, all these young guys, Jeffers. I mean, you name it. They're here. And Pablo's sticking around. Sonny Gray is kind of a question mark, but man, he is going to have some postseason big time moments. And he had some today for sure. Defensively, there were plays that Carlos Correa made that no other shortstop I felt like in the MLB could make. Even you watch Bo Bichette today, he had a couple plays that I watched and I was like, you know what? That play Carlos Correa would have made. It was a very hard play and I wouldn't have been surprised if Correa made it, but Bichette was not able to get there or he wasn't able. Oh, we got to talk about this moment.
That was
here.
great.
Oh, okay. Pivoting to Vlad Guerrero Jr., going, hey, guess what? I'm on second base. I'm going to get a big lead. There's a guy on third as well. We need runs. We need 2 runs. What are you thinking, Vlad? Getting this huge lead. And Sonny Gray, if you watch how he turned to get Vlad, that's what coaches need to teach because you can't do it much better than what he's doing right here. Look at his body. Look at how he's angled, and he makes a perfect throw. And Correa, not only does he make a perfect catch, he lets the ball travel to them, but at the same time, he knows he's catching the ball as he's moving his arm. And that is literally what they teach how to tag guys is catch that ball on the fly halfway there and tag him on the fly. And he did it to perfection. I mean, look at that right there. Right now, Vlad Guerrero's hand in this image is almost touching the bag, or maybe it is touching the bag. I don't know in this shot. But if you were to see the other side of the angle, which I think they're probably going to show us next year, he got him. He got him right in the chest. Vlad did everything he could get out of the way, but he needs to he cannot be getting picked up there. If this was like, you know, if I was playing town ball again right now or something and that happened, I would have been absolutely livid with him. And I'm sure, you know, that's the deflating moment for the Toronto Blue Jays. Not only for the fans, but in that dugout, right?
I mean, it's a 2-run game. You have two guys in scoring position. You just can't be doing that. I mean, you need to not be the last out when you're on second base there. That's just a terrible way to end an inning. And yeah, it just took a lot of momentum out of their sails, and that was probably one of their most threatening chances of the game. And to take that bat out of your hitter's hand is just a terrible move. But
I just went back a little bit because I had to check whose hand did they take the bat out of?
The hottest one.
Bo Bichette, the hottest one on the team. I mean,
we're talking about
a Blue Jays podcast right now. I'd be tearing into Vlad right now.
I just want to be clear. We're talking about his looks, not actually how good he is.
The most attractive player on the team, who was also the hottest hitter on the team.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't the hottest. He was the hottest hitter, but he didn't have the best hit of the series for the Blue Jays. That had to go to Kevin Biggio smacking Griffin Jax running up the line. I mean, he hit him.
Oh, man.
He hit him so hard, and then Kevin Biggio pretends like he's hurt, but really he laid a shoulder and just pushed his arms into him. I mean, that is the wrong sport, man.
Yeah, I think he's been playing a little too much Madden the past week, was trying to flick up on the right stick, throw a little hit stick on him. And, good on Griffin Jax hanging onto that ball. I know a lot of Minnesota Vikings running backs that may drop that ball. Hey. Whoa, this is about baseball. Let's keep focused.
This is why we traded for Cam Akers, all right? We got to hold on to the ball. Or if you've ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's kind of like hey, who wants to play greased up watermelon? It's kind of the Vikings right now. That's what it reminded me of. But it's also the wild story. Maybe now that Kevin Biggio is available, back. Yeah, get Jax out there to hold the ball. But the Wild should go grab Kevin Biggio because that was a hell of a hit.
Kaprizov,
he's available.
He was at the game. Maybe he was scouting for a new enforcer.
When Kaprizov came up, they did it during the celebrity lookalikes. So they do all the fan lookalikes. And then they're like, oh, we have a fan that looks like Kaprizov. And I'm like, oh, he's obviously got to be here. And of course he was. And he was pumped to be on the big screen. And I've seen him on the big screen. I've been at a Wolves game when he was on there before and another Twins game when he was on there before. And he was on another level. Like, I don't know if he was having some fireball shots like us or not, but he was pumping his fists. I mean, he was ready to go. And that whole stadium blew up. I mean, just like you're at a wild playoff game, it felt like. So that was great. That was smart by the Twins, to put him up on the string because it got everybody going again for sure.
Did they put Kirk O'Chains up there?
Was Kirk there?
Yeah. I don't it could have been the first game. I just saw a picture of him, and they were just sitting in they weren't in like a suite or anything. He was just in the lower bowl with his family. It was just looked like a very normal guy, as Kirk does.
Yeah, of course he is. Not sitting in the suite. Classic Kirk for sure. No, they did not. I did not see him on the scoreboard or anything. I did not know he's there. I would have gone and hang out with him if I knew. Just kidding. All right. We have to talk about this right here. All right. We got bases loaded. This was the moment of the game that pretty much ended the game. And if you remember the first game, all right, we had, I think it was, 2 runners on, and we were up 3-1. Matt Chapman came to the plate against Louis Varland. And I believe, was this Louis Varland that was pitching right here? Let me just double check. Because, no, this is Thielbar. So Chapman's now against Thielbar. I thought it was, he was against Louis Varland in game 1 with 2 runners on, and he hit an absolute nuke, is what I thought, to right center. And Michael A. Taylor made a leaping catch against the wall to save the game and, preserve the 3-1 lead. Now, if that ball was 3 feet higher, 1 foot higher, you've got a tied game at least, if not more. And Matt Chapman, again, right here, he had a moment where he could have tied the game, probably gave them the lead, depending on how this ball bounces off the wall in right field, or if it bounces into the stands. It kind of depends. But you got bases loaded, 1 out, Chapman at the plate, Thielbar pitching, hits it right down the line. And if you watch this, it is foul by what? Less than a foot? Like, look at that. So close. And I was right down that, like I was sitting between home plate and first base. So I had a perfect view right down that line. And the ball pretty much went around Polanco at third, curved all the way, just like it would, curved out of into foul. Like it was headed to the left fielder. It curved so much. There isn't many more balls that I've seen curve as much as that ball that Chapman hit. And thank goodness it did, because that could have flipped this whole game. We could have been headed to a game 3 right now and having to use another starter, having to use more of our bullpen. But no. Oh, it did bounce into the stands. I was curious. So it probably would have bounced in the stands, but it would have been a tie game if that happened. And instead, that happens.
Then you're out of the inning.
Right. A double play. You can see all the fans holding their hands on their head. That's exactly what I was doing. I was like,
oh my God, there's no way.
This is amazing. I cannot believe this happened. Like, this doesn't happen to us.
Yeah, and usually, being Twins fans, the ball is usually 1 inch fair against us. So it's nice to have it on the other side of the line this time.
Thank goodness. And, one of my favorite parts of this game was how both teams, both of these games, how they used the bullpen was very interesting. I mean, it was really a manager versus manager type game, kind of the type of game you see when you have like Tampa Bay in town, right? I mean, but Toronto, they knew what they were doing. And the Twins, they knew what they were doing. They knew what lefties were coming up, what righties were coming up. They were bringing in guys specifically just to force the hand of Rocco to make moves. And he had to bring in Solano. He had to bring in Willie Castro. You got to take Killaroff out. You got to, take out Edward Julian even at one point. I mean, that's some amazing baseball. And credit to the Blue Jays. They did a great job of making the Twins, forcing their hand to do what they got to do. But Twins pitching was just better. We just outpitched them. But I do got to ask you, you saw Griffin Jacks come into game 1. You saw Griffin Jacks come in again to game 2 to face the exact batters that he faced already in game 1. Were you nervous? Because Griffin Jacks has 10 losses on the season.
Yeah, and there's so many statistics about seeing guys multiple times through the order and how the averages always go up every time you see them. And, obviously not the same game, but seeing the same guys 2 days in a row is pretty close to the same thing. And so it makes you a little nervous, especially with his track record throughout the season. But, I mean, obviously went out there and got the job done, was able to get out of it, and Twins get home with a win. So I guess you just kind of got to trust Rocco and his decisions and just ride the train.
I want to say I do. I want to say I trust Griffin Jax every time he comes out there, but I don't yet, because he brought him out against, if you remember in game 1, he brought him out. First batter he faces is Vlad Jr. Rockets a double to right field, right? Leadoff double. Griffin Jax goes 1, 2, 3, gets out of the inning. This game, first batter he faces is who other than Vlad Guerrero Jr. again. And you know what Vlad did? He hit a ball harder than Royce Lewis hit either of his home runs to straightaway center field about 400 feet. But our guy, Michael A. Taylor, was there. And he is a beast. He got there. He got to that ball. And that could have been a game, changing play as well. I mean, that's where I'm saying the defense in this game flipped this game on his head. But we talked about the hit earlier. Here's the hit. We got to it in the video. We got to see it. I haven't seen the close-up of it. I saw it in real time, but
he trucks him.
He looked like he trucked him.
He trucks him. Baba boom.
Oh, my goodness. We got to watch that again.
Can we slow it down?
Look at that. I mean, he clearly, I think right here, it was an accidental moment. I don't know I think Biggio probably thought that he was going to, try to tag him. And, I mean, Griffin Jax definitely gets in his way. It is kind of on both of them. But once he's in his way, Biggio went, no. And you can clearly see his arms into him big time. And, I mean, Jax is smart, though. Look, you can see in this angle, he's got 2 hands on that ball. He's not just holding in his gloves. So
ball protection.
Yep. He needs to. I don't even know if he had it in his glove. It kind of looks like, if you watch closely here, right here, his hand's in his glove.
It's in his hand.
And it looks like it's in his bare hand, which is even smarter.
That's how you're supposed to tag the guy, because if you just holding your gloves shut, it can pop open. Whereas you have that grip on the ball, you can go get that guy, not have to worry about it popping out.
I was feeling pretty nervous at this point in the game when they brought Jordan Romano out. Oh, and Carlos Cragen hit in the hand. Let's hope to goodness. I just really hope that he is not hurt. I know he probably stayed in this game just because, he's like, it's my hand. I'll fight through it. But I hope that he goes and gets x-rays and does not find out that he's got a broken pinky or anything like that, because we need him on the field,
That would hurt.
I know his bat. Where did it get him? Oh, right in the knuckles. You can see his finger bend. Oh, God, that's the worst. The only other worst place in that is right in the side of the ankle or in the knee. Or the face, of course. But thankfully, he didn't get hit in the face. Let's hope he's all right. But, I was saying, I was pretty nervous at this point. You see Jordan Romano come out into the game. I know we had runners on, but he got out of this inning, and I was like, I don't think that this game's going to end 2-0. I really did not think that we were going to be able to shut out Toronto. I was slowly losing faith. They were getting guys on base, and I'm like, oh, man, I think this is going to be a 5-4 game, one way or the other. That's what I just kept saying. That's what I was feeling. But you know what? Minnesota was like, yeah, let's get a shutout. Also, what were you thinking when Duran came out? I mean,
the first 2 pitches almost sailing over the catcher is not what you're looking for in the 9th inning of a playoff game, but big props to Duran. He reined it in, calmed himself down, and went out and pitched a great 9th inning to go secure a series sweep for the Twins. So nervous at first, no doubt, but he balled out today.
He sure did. And he had quite the entrance, as he always does. You got all the lights out. You got guys coming out. You got the whole music. You got the spider up on the screen that says Duran with all the flames, and they're showing his 105-mile-an-hour pitches. Then he gets to the mound, and you got to wait 5 more minutes because he's got a blister. They probably had to – I'm guessing they put super glue in it. I don't know if I'm assuming they showed that on TV or not, but we had to wait. It felt like we had to wait forever. So you're like, all that amped up excitement just kind of went away.
Taken away, yeah.
Yeah, and then he throws 2 balls, and I think the whole stadium went, oh no. You can see this girl right here. Can you see the girl behind home plate? Their hands on her head. She's holding a rally towel against her head. You got another guy up here. This guy's biting something. I mean, you just look at all the fans back here, and they are more nervous than anyone else at home, I'm sure, because you could just feel the energy in there. And he got out of it, though. I mean, he was throwing gas. He was throwing splitters, which I did not think he would throw a splitter after you got a blister. That seemed like the hardest pitch to throw. He's throwing great 86, 87 mile an hour curveballs. There's an 85 mile an hour curveball in the corner. Just, oh man, how do you hit that and look for a 105?
You don't. That's what makes him so special.
It's amazing. He's so good. But of course, because we're the Minnesota Twins, we had to let a runner on second base because we love to make things interesting. Oh, no. I just accidentally started it over. Oh, we're going back. That's all right. All right. But we always like to make things interesting, right? That's just Minnesota sports. Are you feeling good today? Are you feeling, were you nervous all day? And how are you feeling now?
I mean, honestly, I was feeling good after that first game. We looked like we came out there ready to play. But no, I was feeling good going into today. I thought we had a good shot at winning and getting the sweep, and the boys did that today, so we're super happy. But now it's just moving forward and taking down those big, bad Astros.
Yeah, they are big, bad Astros, that's for sure. And they do make me nervous. They got Justin Verlander. He's kind of old, though, hopefully we can beat him, but he's been there and done that, and he goes on another level when it gets in playoffs. So he's going to be a hard person to face. Framber Valdez, for all we know, he could throw a no-hitter in the playoffs. He's that good of a pitcher. But we got Pablo going game one now because they're going to get all kinds of rests, and you got Saturday lined up for him, and you're going to get Sonny Gray on Sunday. And coming back to Minnesota for Joe Ryan going on the mound for game 3, didn't he pitch? He pitched opening day, was it last year or this year? He's been there. He knows what it feels like to be in front of a big crowd in a big moment, potentially on national TV. I know he hasn't been there in the playoffs yet, but
that's the key thing is playoffs. Playoffs it's a different beast. I definitely think he deserves this game 3 start. There's no question about that.
Right.
I just you never know. Those lights are a little brighter in the playoffs, so we'll have to see what the young man's made of, and hopefully we get more of the same with Joe Ryan.
It's going to be really interesting on how they use Maeda as well, because we've had Pablo Lopez is going to go Saturday, right? So that gives him Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to rest. I think he could go on, a fourth. So that'd be Wednesday? So it'd be like 4 days of rest. I know usually they pitch every 4 days. That's 3 days of rest. He could go 1 day early and maybe use Maeda and Joe Ryan in a game 3 to go back to back, kind of like what the Blue Jays did today with Barrios and Kikuchi. And I mean, a 2-0 loss, yeah, that sucks, but they only let up 2 runs. I mean, it worked. They shut us down pretty good. 2 runs is not a lot. We just shut them down better, as a pitching staff. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. And we're going to keep an eye on what's going to happen on the 26-man roster. We're going to keep an eye on what roster is posted for Houston. I'll be at the games again. Make sure you follow Twitter, X. I'll be posting on Hot Dish Sports when I'm at the game from the upper deck, so you can see everything. It's the best view, I think, of the game when you're in the playoffs. You get to really take in the atmosphere, but that's just me. But yeah, I'm excited, man. This is some of the most excitement I have felt as a Minnesota sports fan in a very long time. Very long time. I don't think the Vikings haven't won a playoff game since 2017. The Wild, they've won a couple playoff games, but they haven't won a series. And I'm trying to think the last series they won, but it's been a while. And now Twins finally won a series. I know it's only the wild card series. It's a best of 3. It's not the big deal as, some other teams see it as, but to us as Minnesota sports fans, we needed this.
This was our World Series.
Really, it was. But now our World Series is the American League Division Series.
Yep.
Every single series is our World Series. You get out of that, you get to that championship series, you're going,
we got a shot.
We did it. We keep moving on. And Tampa Bay is already knocked out. So we know we're not going to face Tampa Bay if we make it to championship series. You're going to face either Texas or Baltimore. I'm guessing it'll be Baltimore, but I mean, Texas is sneaky good, dude. They don't have Scherzer, they don't have DeGrom, but they can win some games of all these nasty Nate. But yeah, we're going to be following all of the playoffs. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to be talking about the Twins, of course. We're going to be talking about the other teams. We're going to be talking, we'll be talking Wild pretty soon too. We'll be talking Vikings. Subscribe to Hot Dish Sports on YouTube. Check out our website. We got merch available. Check us out on X, like I said. And if you're a sports fan of Minnesota sports, we'll do our best to have some fun and talk some sports. And you got any good last words, Alex? Otherwise, wrap it up.
Go Twins, go.